I want to talk a little bit more maybe about the community radiologist and some of the solutions that people have brought forward to solve those problems. And first and foremost, between those two, we talk about workflows and AI as the end-all solutions that will get even more efficiency from whether it's the technologist or the doctor from the system. And I have some opinions, but I am not sure that those are the end-all solutions for those problems. Con, maybe I'll start with you. How do you feel? Do you think just better workflows, AI is going to solve this problem of diminishing people, or you have a different opinion?
I think it's a very complicated question that you're asking, right? I believe that the information that is needed for management of the patient needs to be delivered where the patient is, right? Whoever's taking care of the patient in real time. It still boggles my mind where, I'll give you an example, right? Placement of PICC line, for example, right? So let's say it's a tiny, $10 catheter that is put by a nurse who makes $20 per hour for somebody starting to get, TPN nutrition for something or drug something, but they'll have to wait to start that drug or medication. So a $250 per hour radiologist looks at images and then tells what's happening, right? And is it the right? I mean, it's a binary decision: is the catheter in the right position or not? And I think there's so many these inefficiencies that exist in our health system where decisions are delayed because the people making decisions don't have access to the right information at the right time. And I'm making it broadly, just not imaging; it's overall outside imaging also. And how does the future go in the direction where those folks are able to make those decisions? I mean, like the biggest one for me is, our neurosurgery colleagues and our orthopedic colleagues are more than capable of interpreting and making decisions on images. The issue becomes is when their interpretation differs from ours. So do we prevent them from making a real-time decision that they're seeing the patient at the time? Or do we do a better job at highlighting what the decision was and how we are able to immediately notify them if we disagree with the decision? And that communication doesn't happen, right? So we have no idea what the decision they're making, what did they see in the image, and they did something. And then we do a report later on, and then 2 days later, somebody realizes, the wrong thing was done, right? I mean, we've not worked on building good tools, enabling clinicians who are making decision looking at images at the bedside to be able to provide that interpretation somehow to the interpreting physician who's actually generating the report for the whole thing. I don't expect them to sit and read the entire scan and figure out what's going on overall. I think that there's a job for radiologists to do that stuff, but I think they should still be able to start something, care of the patient for the information they're looking for right away. So I think that's another example of, collaboration, and that's getting much more enhanced now with this remote workforce. Like, how do you actually do that when you are in the ICU rounding and the radiologist sitting at home or at the beach doing interpretation, or in Orlando doing interpretation of the same thing, right? So,
Matt, I know you told a story. You instituted an AI algorithm for PE there at Northwell, and I have a zillion AI vendors coming to me saying, if only you use my algorithm, your life would be perfect. I would prioritize your list. I would overread. I would improve quality. Everything would be better if you did that. How do you see these AI algorithms playing out in our future practice? Is it going to solve all these workflow shortages? Is it going to elevate quality to ever increasing heights? What's that look like?
Well, there's an easy answer that nothing ever solves everything. So that's a pretty easy thing. But what I will do is I want to take kind of a little bit of a step back and sort of go on of what Con said, which is if you sort of think about what the value the radiologist adds, or what is the most important things that I do during the day, number one is the communication that I have with the clinician in as close to real time as possible, right? That's probably the greatest value I add and that's the medical decision making. And the point that Con made about there's usually a two-stage process there. One is I ordered this study for this particular thing that I need to know now, and I know there's a lot of other things that might be in there.
I don't care.
Somehow segmenting the radiologist workflow. I don't want to look at the study twice. There's problematic there, but there is like you said, I'll use the PICC line, right? Yeah, the PICC line is in place. You can go ahead and start feeding the patient. The next thing that they need to know, but they don't need to know now is, oh, by the way, there's a new pulmonary nodule of the patient's metastatic disease has probably gotten worse. You probably want to know that too. But that they don't need to know at the time when they're about to start feeding the patient or giving TPN or doing or some other function. So there's that piece. And the second part is the actual report, the full report, and getting that into the hands of the person at the right time and the right place. So back now to sort of answer your question is, how does the AI fit into this? And I think we did implement a PE algorithm for detection of PE. We did it for multiple reasons, but one of the biggest reasons that we had was the prioritization of studies. It was, we do a really good job reading the studies that are dedicated for pulmonary emboli, the CTPA, so CT pulmonary angiograms, and reading them in effectively real time. But it was the incidental PEs that were on contrast enhanced studies on inpatients where they're ordered routine. It could be hours before they were read, or when we have a very busy shift and perhaps overutilization of the CTPA exam, and you could have 6 of them on your work list hit. I cover at any given time somewhere between 9 and 10 hospitals. You could get hit with 5, 6, or 10 of them within a very short period of time. Which one do I read first? And then in the outpatient setting, where there could be even a longer delay before reading exams, the goal was prioritization. And I will say the AI product definitely achieved that goal, right? We cut our outpatient imaging time for a positive PE, what we called a significant treatable PE, patient who got admitted for that, from over a day to within, I forgot the exact number, 25 minutes, which is profound. On the inpatient side, it had a less profound effect, but from, again, from hours to minutes. The unexpected piece was for non-experts, they got better, right? A combination of an expert and the AI was minimal. But for the people who are reading in the trenches, when we're really busy, who they may not read these type of studies all the time, or even for the night radiologists, they got better in reading these studies with the combination of AI plus the human, which is what we expect. Did AI?
Do you think that there's an impact on training the radiologists to be better readers? In other words, one of the things people have looked at is what's the accuracy of AI by itself, then what's the accuracy of the human, and then what's the accuracy of the AI and human. The one thing I haven't seen anybody describe yet is what's the accuracy of the human alone after spending some period of time working with the AI.
I will say we are actually looking at that right now, but in order to do that, I've had to get people willing to let me shut off the AI. And what I didn't expect was that people become dependent. This is something I'm worried about, to be perfectly honest, and also for the training of residents, that people have become dependent on it. They do.
Yeah, we heard this at that SIM conference,
yeah.
Also in one of the presentations, where a radiologist was, really upset at going from a practice where they had it to one where they didn't have it, and really felt very, unsupported,
Right.
in such a way that almost as though you switch to a new word processor that does not do spell check or grammar check.
Right, or I the way I describe, someone asked me to describe AI, and I say, when you have AI, it's like having a resident that you've never met before over your shoulder. I don't know how good they are, but I do feel like it's nice to have another pair of eyes over my shoulder. And a lot
and at the end of the month, they don't leave for another rotation, but they stay with you.
Right.
As time goes on, you get to know them better.
It's interesting. One of my mentors, Roger Bird here at the Barrow, he said, I think we do a better job with fellows reading with us, but I'm not sure, because when we have a fellow reading with us, we probably spend a little less time looking at the study than we would have if we did it alone. And we may not look quite as hard, because we have a second set of eyes. I think we do a great job, but I'm not getting rid of my fellow to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's one of the concerns that's been expressed for AI, even for triage, where AI says, okay, here are the cases, Alan, that I think are most likely to have an intracranial hemorrhage. I'm going to put them at the top of your list to read. But when you know that that's there, what people have found is that your
You're already
level of
biased.
vigilance for the other cases, may be less. And so, and of course, the other part of it is, when we have AI, do we use that as a crutch and end up spending less time looking at the cases, or ourselves get less essentially accurate reading on our own without it? And those are really
We do read
I'd be
faster, that I can tell you. I mean, that is something we do have data on, that we read about 14 to 15% faster with AI than without it. The thing I don't know we're looking at right now is, where is that gain? Is it in the positive cases, in the negative cases, equal in both? I would assume we're better. I was hoping we'd be faster in the positive cases because, one PE versus many PE really doesn't matter. It's really the physiologic response to that. What would make me nervous is if all of the gain is in the negative cases. What it really means is we are really using the AI as a crutch. And also, I don't know with the double negatives, we don't double read. We double read any of the positive cases, but we don't read the double negatives. We spot check them, but I don't really have a good way of knowing if AI is wrong and the human is wrong. There really isn't a way of really catching those.